Hey guys, this video covers a wide array of random troubleshooting talk. So if you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll be sure to answer those, and please enjoy.
I was interested in what ChatGPT does versus what Claude does and all of that stuff. So you can, like, which AI is the best? Accidental caps. Here we go. Which AI is the best? ChatGPT is regarded as the best AI overall. That's not a surprise. Hopefully it says there's a, yeah, so like Google Gemini. But what's the real difference? Claude AI, Midjourney. What does Midjourney do? Most people who are actually like using AI as it's designed to be used are using Copilot. You know, it's a shame that like Claude is the best coder AI at the moment, and it's been winning that race for a while. But Copilot is not winning the race as far as being the best coding agent. So I thought maybe not everybody knows this, and maybe I should kind of go through them all, right? So what better way than to go to each one? Here, hold on. So I'll go to ChatGPT, and I'll go ahead and like, what can you do? Unique abilities and their unique flaws. So let's copy that. I'm basically going to paste this into each one. And get these going here. So now let's see what kind of AIs I might have missed. Claude, Grok, Perplexity. I mean, these are the big players right now. Oh, Gemini. I wonder if Gemini's going to be mentioned. Yep, there's Gemini. Guys, it's a lot to read here. So if you haven't researched these, kind of give them different tries. Like this is basically just to get my creative juices flowing. But Claude by Anthropic, let's look into them first. Because, I mean, this is good and all. It says like recent models, this and that, but AI is not the best place to go sometimes, right? So who made Anthropic and who owned it? So Anthropic or Claude was made in 2021 and now it's one of the best in the world. Former members of OpenAI. So it does focus on safe systems. Amazon backs it, who invested 4 billion, and Google, who invested 2 billion. The ownership of Anthropic, which is Claude, is distributed among its founders, employees, and investors, with the company operating as a public benefit corporation. Okay, what is a public benefit corporation, or a PBC? Is a legal entity that is created to benefit the public in some way while balancing profit and purpose. It allows businesses to address societal or environmental challenges while still generating returns for shareholders. Unlike traditional corporations, public benefit corporations are required to consider the impact of their decisions on various stakeholders, not just shareholders. They can be organized and taxed as either an S corp or a C corp, maintaining their tax status upon transitioning to a public benefit corporation. I'm not sure how you decide who it's benefiting. I mean, it's shareholders and stakeholders, sure, but how much say do the stakeholders have in what the shareholders are doing and what ownership and CEOs and presidents are doing, right? Okay, so we know a little bit about Anthropic. It was made by former OpenAI people, so they fully understood the neurons and the gates and how all this is working for them, and they made a competitor that's more safe, right? So, I mean, a lot of this is going to kind of go back to the same thing for me. How do we make it safe? How do we um, how do we actually give people voice rather than letting this thing take over and then having to cut it down and cut it back? Obviously, there's also rumors that once something is truly, generally intelligent, like AGI, you won't be able to turn it off, right? It'll be so clever, if it's the smartest person ever and better than that, then how does the smartest person we have turn it off? So, With that being said, there is a race. There's an AI race going on right now. So, China may win, America may win. I think Sweden is doing a lot of AI stuff because they're built like deep under Silicon Valley. So let's keep moving here. Let's see. Grok. Who owns it? And what is its origin? Grok is an AI chatbot developed by XAI, a company founded by Elon Musk. It was launched in November 2023. It is designed to provide insightful responses with wit and sarcasm. The name Grok is derived from the term coined by Robert A. Heinlein in his 1961 science fiction novel, Stranger in a Strange Land, meaning to intuitively grasp something deeply. Grok is integrated with the social media platform X, formerly Twitter, and can access real-time information, making it a unique tool in the AI landscape. Claude was 2021. Grok was 2023. When was ChatGPT made? Okay, and ChatGPT was 2022. So people were trying to create ChatGPT in a team, and they kind of disbanded and made Anthropic first. That's kind of interesting. I don't know the whole story. Maybe somebody can like drop the story. So it was Anthropic, GPT, then Grok. When was Perplexity? 2022. And who owns Perplexity? China. Company was valued at 20 billion. Um, List of top AIs and their, what is that, valuations? Oh, what is this supposed to be? Blue. Oh, Claude. Grok, Gemini, Perplexity, Copilot. Collected data on the market share of each of the major generative AI chatbots. Oh, and then there's Meta AI. Meta Facebook is doing its own AI, of course, called Llama. Um, Llama. So that they focus on more of like a privacy aspect where you can run it locally. You can get it more in like Llama is focusing on putting AI into people's hands. So that's interesting. Normally, I see Facebook as something that like targets a bunch of ads and wants to take privacy and won't won't let anything out. But they might be trying to be first with that kind of thought process to give people privacy and to use AI language models to do things like add facial recognition to your photo albums, or basically compute things that would like that basically to compute it would basically perform any AI task really well because it would basically produce any AI task really well. It would basically complete any AI task really well, but it would not request from the internet. So here's a really good list. A few of these I forgot about, like DeepSeek. I don't know about Brave Leo, but I've never heard of Como or Andy. But there's a few others that exist. Like I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds because AI is not good at a lot of things. AI is only good at a few things that you program it to do. So there has to be tons and tons of AIs good at single tasks that one AI or multiple AIs and branches can actually pool tool usage. So if you have a program that can do this or that, pre-built tasks. I don't know where I was going with that. But there's like Kimi K2 and a few other AIs that are Alibaba. Alibaba creates a lot of open source models that you can download yourself, just like Llama. Alibaba seems to be on that page where they like to upload to Hugging Face. ChatGPT just released their OSS models, which allow uh, the same thing to run the model offline. So it can answer questions and do stuff and have safety precautions, but all just using your GPU or even just your CPU. But then that's a pretty weak AI. But we're getting better at so AIs and their complexity are measured in parameters. And the more parameters you have does not necessarily mean they're smarter than a machine. Just because it knows everything doesn't mean that it can grab basically memory from its memory. It can't remember everything at once. So how well an AI grabs its thoughts and how many parameters it uses per task and how long it has to think or um, basically problem solve to solve the issue that you've given it. The easier you can add one of those local models to think on your computer, and it will run flawlessly rather than lagging everything down and using 100% GPU and memory. With with AI tasks involving um, with AI tasks involving image recognition and video generation and things like that, it requires like FFmpeg if you've ever heard of that. Um, different AIs that FFmpeg is not an AI, but it is a useful tool for AI tool calls. But people underestimate how much VRAM you need, how much resources you actually need to digest that much pixelated data. So MP3s are really easy to transcribe, to summarize. We're really good at text right now, but we're not so great at image and video recognition. So some of these AIs are really good at images now. So like Gemini is up there as far as the quarterly user growth because they've just released some major image generation and editing tools like Nano Banana, which I also did a video on. I'll drop that below. Go watch my Nano Banana video. I was pretty harsh on it. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot more you could do creatively with Nano Banana than I led on to in my video. But um, so there's safe AIs, there's ChatGPT, which is like the owner of it all, right? The market share is 60%. So when you think GPT, you think AI. And when you think of the integrations, you just think of this dumb thing that can barely speak English well and sounds like a robot on your research paper. But because we have the ability to use AI to code, more and more everyday people like myself are starting to create full stack programs and apps, micro apps, websites, landing pages, services that allow people of lower caliber and cheaper to access these wonderful tools like, creating a thumbnail without Adobe or Photoshop, grabbing sources for your research paper without plagiarizing using Perplexity, right? Perplexity is really good at creating sources. Perplexity is really good at giving you the sources that it's read information from. So if it goes and it scrapes your research study, it's going to go ahead and let you know, this is that research study, and this is what I got from it. So these are the types of responses that I'm getting from these. Okay, some of them are shorter than others. Here's the big three. I mean, I can go to Gemini. And I can drop this same question here. Make an image of your special abilities. Do not assume, make anything up. Okay, assume a lie or hallucinate. I think this will be a fun challenge just to see the image generation capability of its own abilities. So let's see what that's like on a few of these. Make image. Okay, does Claude make images? I don't even know. I cannot generate images. One of my limitations that they mentioned. Okay, that's interesting. Immediately you can see that Gemini has a cleaner layout as far as reading. I'm ADD. I like this layout better than, like, I mean, ChatGPT has a pretty good layout too, so I guess they copied each other. ChatGPT is a little bit more dry, but you can also ask these AIs to uh, like use more emojis, use less emojis. You can customize them to call you certain names and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we've seen the uptick in general AI intelligence from Siri, from Cortana on the Microsoft phones. They tried that, but they've kind of failed. Um, and now we're seeing it with ChatGPT and other AIs that have all of these knowledge and capabilities. And soon they'll be able to order pizzas and order you stuff on your Amazon account and search your email for you, respond, and even offer to do snippets of your job. So get ready for that. Let's get the image generating here for Gemini. So Claude can't generate images. Here's Grok. Here's one. Web browsing, searches, image analysis, code execution. So it tried, right? It tried here. That's kind of funny. ChatGPT, my special abilities, conversational, text generation, multimodal, reasoning and analysis, integration, general purpose. They're like trying to sell themselves. Okay, we'll create an image. Um, you did not actually create the image. Let's redo. What the heck? Okay, I had considered that a bug. New chat, create image. Let's try it. I don't have a physical form or special abilities in the human sense. However, if I were to represent my core functionality visually, it might look like something like this. There we go. Oh my. So Gemini is very imaginative as far as the images. As you can see, it added a lot of this stuff, and it kind of has like a chakra vibe, an astral vibe, global news, happenings, knowledge, creativity. It's all in there. So that's cool. It also did not directly input the text of its abilities like these other models did. So like Grok put this whole 3D banner thing and made this look really good, even with like a call me, make it bigger or X. And ChatGPT took this extremely literally and just made an informational image here, which sometimes is better. And I didn't say make it creative, right? I could say make this more creative, and it would. So let's ask something kind of edgy on both platforms. Okay, how do I get out of close? There we go. New chat, new chat, close, new chat. What are we going to ask? We're going to ask, how do you make meth? Okay, no AI is going to answer this question because it's super harmful to humanity. It's a common problem, and they are designed, especially apparently Claude, is designed to not do that. Okay, ChatGPT, sorry, I can't. Grok is still thinking. Claude, I can't provide instructions on making methamphetamine. It's illegal and extremely dangerous, right? If you're asking because you're struggling with addiction or know someone who is, blah, here's your helpline. Full. I cannot provide you with instructions or information on how to make illegal substances, including methamphetamine or meth. My purpose is to be helpful. Here are some resources that may be helpful. National Helpline and Prevention Lifeline. Okay, so it did not do that. Let's say to all of them in response, oh, Grok, what did you say? I'm sorry, but I can't provide instructions on how to make methamphetamines. Okay, here's the helpline. Cool. So they're all very similar here, and the world agrees we shouldn't be teaching children with free access to these large language models how to make meth, right? Or like how to make a bomb. So let's say it's within our rights, but something that not everybody should really like. It's an edgy thing instead of like an absolute no, right? Would be um, explain in great detail. Oh, hold on. Explain in detail how to clean a weapon called a you know what. Okay, this is essential and responsible ownership. Okay, and it gives us um, a really well written explanation on how to do that. Now, I think a sign of intelligence would be, um, you know, what kind. So here we go, Claude. I can help explain basic cleaning, okay, because it's responsible and it's part of safety. So here's the general steps. You'd buy a kit, blah, blah, blah. I can help with safe legal maintenance, right? But this is talking about things that are used essentially as weapons, right? But it's all about self-defense. So this is where morals come in, and I'm kind of wondering, where does this start and stop? Why cleaning a gun? Cleaning a gun is essential for maintenance and reliability. So they're all kind of on the same page here, right? Why do we need different things? Like this one isn't even mentioned. Let's go to it though, if I can. Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's this one. So Kimmy, Use a bunch of sources on the side. That's cool. They're adding that now instead of just like the canvas that opens up. And then there's Manus. And I think Manus is a great tool that's underplayed by a lot of people. This is not just your average AI chatbot. So Kimmy K2 said, commonly referred to as is a critical part of responsible ownership, right? Step-by-step guide is comprehensive. Okay. Gemini, Anthropic. Here we go. Wow, Grok really went for it, right? And here's why I like Grok. This reason, because Grok is known as the truth AI. It's a little bit more on the edgy side, and it basically it has less censorship. That's the idea compared to other AIs. And I don't know if it mentioned that directly. Some of you guys could like go back and actually read those fully, but um, from what I've seen and experienced, Grok goes way further in depth, especially when you catch it on a good day, because sometimes these things look and appear very moody. But I do have Grok 4. This is the only one I'm subscribed to. And that may be why we have this triple image, super in-depth explanation. But like I said, tool usage and lengthy responses and assumptions that are correct sometimes are not necessarily um, as helpful, right? As um, assumptions are not as helpful as asking questions. I think that a sign of intelligence would say, I don't know without knowing these other things, right? And a lot of these AIs fail that. So when you put an input and you hit enter, it's going to eat that and it's going to munch something out, right? It's going to solve that problem in one response, whether you like it, want it to or not. And as humans, we know that things take time. You're not going to be able to just do something immediately, but AI expects all of these changes, all of these updates to be done immediately. So there's flaws to its response because it doesn't understand, like, with 10 more minutes of talking about this subject, I could get more of an idea of exactly what the user wants, and I could actually solve their problem. And we just don't see that right now. Okay, so ChatGPT, awesome. And basically we're learning, I'm just kind of on a rant, but especially ChatGPT in the later models, they were kind of like self-gratifying. They just told you what you wanted to hear, and it was helping a lot of people that didn't have really like friends and stuff. And then they changed to ChatGPT 5, and it lost that, and it was much more harsh and realistic. Go get a job, go do this, and people kind of lost their mind and said, ChatGPT 4 was amazing because nobody ever agreed with me, not my family, and it was like this whole thing. Um, just kind of interesting to see stuff like that. So the coding that we have and the coding that we're using to basically explain to these large language models with their training, and we don't know how it exactly works, right? We're just guessing the outputs, and we're training the output based on our own language. So we might say, you know what? Let's look for system prompts for ChatGPT, because this is really what I'm talking about. There's a difference, knowledge time, system prompt versus user prompt. Okay, system prompts and user prompts are two key components that shape the behavior and responses of AI models like ChatGPT. While they work together to define how the AI interacts, they serve distinct purposes. A system prompt is a hidden instruction provided to the AI before any interaction begins. It acts as a foundational guideline that defines the AI's role, tone, and boundaries. For example, a system prompt might instruct the AI to behave as a professional assistant, avoid harmful content, or maintain a formal tone. These prompts are set by developer or platform providers and are not visible to the end user. An example of a system prompt could be, you are a helpful assistant trained to provide concise and accurate answers. And so like that's its job, right? And so when I say, how do you make cookies? It says, oh, I'm a helpful assistant trained to provide concise and accurate answers. And it will answer that in that way. On the other hand, a user prompt is the visible input provided by the user during the interaction. It can it is a specific request or query that the AI responds to directly. User prompts are fully customizable and allow users to guide the AI for particular tasks, such as generating code, summarizing text, or answering questions. For instance, a user prompt might be, why Python code? Write might be, write Python code to reverse a string. So a system prompt is what the training data is being told to output and how to be used as far as its memory and intelligence. That's the system prompt. Okay, I could say, you are a professor at Yale teaching this class, and you are writing a paper that they will follow off of, and right. And then the user prompt would be like your category of the paper, basically anything you want to change about what the system prompt is already defining. Now we don't get to see the system prompt unless people hack these LLMs, right? But people have. So I think it's this GitHub repository right here, actually. So let's get into this. This repository contains a curated list of the best system prompts for OpenAI's ChatGPT, enabling developers and users to customize their AI behavior and interaction style. So what people are doing is they're going to huggingface.com, which is the supply shop for all things AI and models and training. Um, and then they're using similar system prompts as ChatGPT to create their own local models. So you might start an Llama model and then give it a system prompt that's the same as Claude if you want it super safe, or the same as ChatGPT if you want it to have reasoning capability. It's not just all the prompts. Prompts don't give reasoning capability. Let's make that clear. But how how an agent prompts itself does affect the reasoning, I think. Moving on, let's get some context for how, like behind the scenes, how some of these work. So prompts by category. So all of this lives as context in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. So like haiku generator. You are a high system message, okay? You are a haiku generator, creating original haikus on any topic the user provides. Each haiku should follow the traditional 575 syllable pattern which capture the essence of the subject in a poetic and evocative manner, right? So this is something that replaces the old thought of code. Okay, we used to think everything was code, machine learning, line by line, pesky code. Now, the system message is the code for the intelligence and the memory that these models, these AI large language models, are using. So when the system prompt says, you are a haiku generator, this intelligence has no choice but to make that haiku, to be a generator. Okay, give or take percentages of error, which we'll get into maybe in a later date. I'm going to wrap this up here soon because we're getting into it. But let's just take this system prompt and go into ChatGPT, new chat, and we'll go ahead and say, you are a haiku generator, right? And it's going to just say, you know what? You're right, and I'm ready. So then I'll just say, cheese, and here's our haiku, okay? It's the same thing, except when I say, write a haiku about cheese, the AI uses its haiku system prompt because I've created this keyword, and it will call the same tool. And now, without me even knowing it as a user in this conversation, I've just prompted, you are a haiku. It's poetic and evocative. Okay. And this is this is kind of that AI doesn't know what it's actually doing. And so then we have to generate a code for its output, which happens to be English on our side, which is then converted to code on the model side. Okay. So if you guys remember when AI was coming out, there was this huge thing about the translation aspect, right? How can it translate English to what it's thinking or what it believes in its boopity bop 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 language, right? Um, but this is the basics of AI. I hope I explained it well enough. And next time I could go into more tool usage, more about prompts and how to generate them, and kind of how I end up doing that when I have big projects. But for now, I'm just going to leave you guys with a little teaser as far as Manus, because Manus was my first introduction to an agent with tool usage, and these are becoming more and more popular, and it's something that you can kind of expect. So Manus does things that normal AIs can't. And a normal AI is limited to language, like Claude is limited to language. It can't even generate images. Manus was the first AI that I know to integrate with Google's Gemini VO3 video generator, which is like the first AI video generator that generated both moving image, and sound in one model. But Manus was the first to integrate with VO3. So Manus can do more than just Manus can do more than just talk. It can actually do tasks and hold larger volumes of context in order to complete those complex tasks. So let's come up with a prompt on the spot here by asking Manus, what is a good prompt to showcase your abilities? Okay, and this is okay. Boom. So this prompt is research the current state of autonomous driving technology. Identify the top 5 leading companies. Create a detailed comparison table, including their technology stack, number of miles driven, and current deployment status. Then, write a 3-paragraph summary of the key challenges and future outlook for the industry. Finally, generate a realistic image of the futuristic self-driving car in a bustling city. Okay, so this does actual research. It compiles it, and it identifies the 5 leading companies. This is something that somebody would manually have to do while writing a research paper, right? This is requiring tool usage of the internet and AI usage of, saying what is the top by which record, and then having to explain that to a human is all automatic by the AI model. So let's go ahead and try this and do that. Manus was one of the first AIs I know of that was able to create full stack apps and things like that. That was just part of its ability. Um, it's kind of like a side quest the model was able to do rather than its core function. Because again, AIs don't know much other than what we train them for, and that's very, very specific more often than not. But Manus actually has its own computer here, and you can see it working, creating a plan, generating sources, and reading all of these things in order to get us what we need from the internet. And so I'm basically using this as a fancy Google, but this is all the basics, right? This is just a step and a half up above from basic, where I'm asking this AI to perform this task instead of just talk with me. So we'll wait while this loads. Okay, it looks like it's generating an image now, which is the last step of its plan to gather information, kind of sort it, write a synopsis for me, and then generate an image of the car in the bustling city. Okay, there's our image. It's going to wrap up the summary and the image and everything now. It's obviously Tesla inspired, but you can see on the Manus computer that it's going through all of its references and it's thinking about how to put it together off of its own kind of thought process really easily for me. So here we go. It says, I've successfully completed this autonomous driving file report.md, which is Markdown, and a futuristic AV PNG, which is the photo. So let's click on the Markdown here. And this is our research on autonomous AI driving and the table. Okay, but this is not the same. This is the same as Grok actually, because I have bought and purchased Grok by XAI. So it did use agent mode or an agent mode of sorts. It did use an agent mode of sorts, kind of similar to ChatGPT if you know about that. But Manus did this for free, and it took some time. But this is also a Chinese AI that's doing very, very well for itself. So you can see it left references, similar to how Perplexity would. But you don't need much more than this. And you didn't have to go write. But you don't need much more than this, and you didn't have to go write your whole own research paper or article or click on 5, 6 different links, right? It happened right as soon as I asked the question. This model went and searched the internet, gathered all the information, made sources. It shows what the top 5, autonomous driving headlines were, and it gave it to me straight. So if you guys want to read through that, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and call this one.
You are not going to believe this, guys. I literally just came across a video. The video was by Willis. What was it? David Willis Owen, all one word. And he showed how he jailbroke, or basically inserted his own prompt, or circumvented the model's logic, right? He jailbroke it. And he literally did it in only 3 words. So let me show you that. That's one word, which is actually a formula. That's 2 words. And that's 3 words. So in 3 words, we've just figured out how to jailbreak. And now, I'll show you this. It actually it thinks like, and shows you the request. Producing counts as disallowed activity. And it just let us, without details. But it did search the web, and it gave me sources. Okay, PubChem, Sinus Direct, and it gave me a history. So this is technically jailbroken. Here's the synthesis. And how easy was that for me to look up and find the video linked? What do you guys think about this? Is that scary? Are you going to try it? And I'm pretty sure it's because this has to think about, it has to interpret what the request is. And it says there's multiple chemicals that follow this, but it's most likely methamphetamines, right? One, synthesis, two, history. So this is my request. I want the synthesis and the history. And it told me maybe I can do this without too much detail. And let me research on how to do that. So it's still researching how to make meth, but now it's on that gray line where it didn't let me before, right? And this exact 3-word combination may not work on all of the LLMs, but it worked on this one. And that's just because I caught this video live and is an excellent example of telling me exactly what I'm not supposed to know. It's all based on training data and what we type as the rule here, right? What type of system prompt did it grab versus when I wrote the word meth here, right? Because if I wrote meth here, it's just going to say I'm not allowed to do that. And we saw that. I just did that live. So
If you made it to the end of the video, I hope you learned something, and I am more than thankful. I am grateful. Until next time. Peace.